The President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, is verbally attacking Russia, saying that their economy is going to hell, that they've put everything on the line. He made such statements the day before as well, and in the presence of Turkish President Erdogan, he said that the best thing Erdogan could do was simply not buy oil from Russia. More details will be provided by TSN's correspondent in Washington, Olga Koshelenko, whom we already have with us now. Ola, you're on the line. Hello. So Turkey is the third largest buyer of Russian energy resources in the world. And yet, Turkey is a NATO member. Trump previously wrote a letter to the alliance countries, allegedly asking them to stop trading with the Russians. Did Donald Trump have a chance to convince Erdogan personally of this?
Greetings, Saint. The day before, when Donald Trump hosted Erdogan at the White House, he turned the start of the meeting, which Trump usually turns into a mini press conference, into a press conference once again. However, it was mostly Trump who spoke, not Erdogan. Trump showered his guest with compliments. He said that Erdogan is a highly respected leader in the world, that everyone respects him, including Putin, Zelensky, and Trump himself. And supposedly for now in the war, he maintains neutrality, but the best thing he could do in the context of the war is to stop buying NATO from Putin. To this, Erdogan did not respond. He continued listening to Trump through the interpreter. And later, when Trump was asked whether he actually managed to convince the leader of Turkey, he said, well, I didn't directly ask him for anything, but if I had, I think he would have complied. Let's listen.
I wouldn't want to talk about it, but if I want to, he'll do it.
But he didn't promise that.
Well, I didn't say, stop, but I believe he'll stop it. Do you know why? Because you can buy it from many other people. He can buy it from many other people.
Trump also spoke with his friend, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Let me remind you that on Tuesday, during negotiations with Volodymyr Zelensky, in fact, Volodymyr Zelensky complained to Trump that Orban does not want to stop trading with Russia. And then Trump said, he's my friend, I'll talk to him. And there's a feeling that he will change his point of view. And so Trump has already spoken with Orban by phone. And not only did he fail to change Orban's point of view, he even changed his own. Now, according to what is apparently Orban's explanation, he clarified that unlike, say, Hungary and Slovakia, they do not have access to the sea, so they have no alternative supply routes. And so they cannot stop trading with Russia. And that's why, in fact, they say this Trump initiative to force countries, as he put it, to stop buying Russian oil products has not made much progress so far, colleague.
As for the rhetoric about Russia, let me repeat it for you once more, in case you had connection issues. Trump does not change his harsh rhetoric. The rhetoric about Russia that we've liked in recent weeks about their economy going down the drain, is there already any reaction to all this, particularly from Moscow? Because it seems to me that until recently they were placing certain hopes on Trump.
The Russian reaction is very interesting. It is cautious and measured. Obviously, they are trying not to anger Trump any further. For example, Putin's special representative, Dmitriev, wrote a post on X where he tried to explain that the Russian economy is actually in full bloom. And Putin's spokesperson, Peskov, responded to Trump's remark that Russia is a paper tiger. In other words, it's only scary when it's drawn in a picture, but in reality, it's not. He just started rambling, saying something like, Russia is actually not a tiger, but a bear. To which, by the way, a NATO Secretary General Rutte noted on Fox News that if you are a real bear, you don't need to explain it further. Similarly, American media outlets recently reported that the Russian government has officially extended its ban on the export of various petroleum products until the very end of the current year, indicating a continued effort to stabilize domestic markets and manage energy resources. This is due to the fact that, according to American media, Ukrainian drones are very effective disabling Russian oil refineries, although Russian officials are obviously trying to explain this with logistical reasons. And the Wall Street Journal writes about the reason for Trump's change in rhetoric, citing their sources. Recently, Trump had very close discussions with his special representative for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, and the current U.S. representative to the United Nations, Michael Waltz. And supposedly it was they who convinced Trump that Russia is actually not winning, that its real gains on the battlefield are very insignificant, that its economy is not collapsing, and that in reality there are huge lines for fuel in Russia. It is stopping its exports to other countries, and as a result, Ukraine is achieving success. And as a result, we really do see a change in Trump's rhetoric, and yesterday he made several rather belligerent statements.
I am very dissatisfied with what Russia is doing and with what President Putin is doing. I don't like it at all. He is killing people for no reason at all. And things are going frankly badly for them, considering they've put everything on the line. Their economy is going to hell. They're bombing everything indiscriminately and capturing very little territory. If they're capturing anything at all, in fact, they've actually lost some territory. So I think this is very bad for Russia's reputation. This war should have ended. If this were our war, we would have finished it in a week. But they're entering their 4th year. 4 years of fighting.
But at the very same time, we haven't really seen any significant real changes in the actual actions of the Trump administration, at least none that we are currently aware of or have been publicly disclosed. There are neither new sanctions nor any other measures from Trump at the moment. The British Telegraph, for example, writes that during this meeting on Tuesday in New York, which I already mentioned, Volodymyr Zelensky asked Donald Trump to deploy American long-range Tomahawk missiles in Ukraine. Their range is sufficient to strike Moscow. But of course, Ukraine is not telling Trump that it intends to strike Moscow. This is referred to as a means of deterrence, and it could force them to the negotiating table, to bring Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table. We don't know Trump's opinion on this matter, but in an interview with Axios, Zelensky said that overall, Trump seemed to respond favorably to his proposal, that the tone of the conversation was very good. But so far, there have been no real steps indicating that the Trump administration, beyond words, is actually changing its approach to this war, unfortunately, colleague.
Thank you for this information. TSN's correspondent in the United States, Olga Koshelenko, on how America this week noticeably changed its tone toward Russia, and meanwhile Trump was persuading Erdogan to stop negotiating with Moscow. Drones from the western direction. The president of Ukraine has instructed to verify information about drones entering our airspace from Hungary. As the head of state noted regarding the incident on the Ukrainian-Hungarian border, he was briefed by Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrski. Our military spotted reconnaissance drones, which, according to preliminary information, could have been conducting surveillance of the industrial potential in Ukrainian border areas. The incident occurred against the backdrop of deteriorating relations between Kyiv and Budapest. Just a few months ago, let me remind you, the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, for the first time in history, uncovered a military intelligence agent network in Hungary, to which Budapest responded by accusing Ukrainian diplomats of espionage. Hungary has already responded to the new statement by the President of Ukraine. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Péter Szijjártó, denied the suspicions in his social media post, stating that the President of Ukraine supposedly sees things that do not actually exist. Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiha, quickly responded to the Hungarian minister's remark. He said that Ukraine sees the hypocrisy and moral degradation of the Hungarian government, both the open and covert actions against Ukraine and the rest of Europe, serving the Kremlin as a lackey, end of quote, Sybiha emphasized.